Hi guys, Jonathan here once more with an ordinary Webley Mark.VI revolver, 4.55 caliber, standard service revolver of the British Forces for many years. Only it's not ordinary, obviously. It has a couple of elephants in the room. First of all, the bayonet. This is the Pritchard Greener bayonet. Not official issue, but then officers typically historically bought their sidearms anyway. So they were quite, and everything else, uniform, the lot. So they were used to buying additional bits of kit, and for the trenches of the First World War, this was a logical enough device. Once you fired your 6 shots, you had the ability to get all stabby. Brass hilt, usually, although some versions have a white metal hilt. We won't go into the full details of this, maybe another time. It's really just here because it kind of completes the look. Why we're really here is this shoulder stock here. Now this is, spoiler alert, in my view, this is a made-up thing. So the bayonet's legitimate. We don't have any evidence for people actually owning and using it, but they were bought, so presumably they did carry them at least. They may not have used them, we don't know. For the buttstock, not only do we have no historical evidence of it existing, as it were, on the revolver, but there are also some good reasons to think that this was probably put together after the war. So why do I say that? Well, firstly, this stock is the stock from the #1 Mark.I signal pistol, which I just happen to have on my lap. And you can see, oh, incidentally, this is also the basis for Boba Fett's primary weapon. It is literally the same stock. This one is has a brass frame, but they are available, or were available, sorry, with the steel frame of this one. So it's the same pattern as the signal pistol stock. It also has, and it might be a little hard to see until I take it off, but a notch cut into the frame to allow this to, because there's only one grip screw holding this on. If there wasn't a notch and a long lug and a notch, this would be a bit wobbly. So to stabilize it, they've put a long sort of lug on the frame of the stock and a cut in the frame of the, in this case, signal pistol. And that's one of the clues as to why this might not be a historical configuration. So, not much in the way of disassembly here, but just to take the stock off to show you what I'm getting at here. It's just a single screw. It's already quite chewed up, so trying to be extra careful with it. Okay, so that's the replacement grip panel, which is just a machined brass piece. And then the other side, you can see there the long lug at the bottom that's on the frame, and that slots into this cut here. Now, apart from showing you how it interfaces, which is mildly interesting, I suppose, the main thing to note here is that in this slot is bright metal, bright steel. This slot's been cut through the finish of the frame. This has not been cut at the factory and then the gun blued. It's been done after the fact. So what, you might say? You know, maybe this was a local modification for the trenches, and I certainly can't rule that out. But to me, it's a little suggestive that, well, it's very suggestive that this was not any kind of a factory option. Just to prove that point, we can do the same with the signal pistol. And I don't know if you can see, there is wear in that slot, but it is, in fact, blued. So that slot existed before the frame was finished. Now, it's also worth pointing out that this is the exact same component before it's finished between the signal pistol and the revolver. And apparently, Robert Mays, who has written the Osprey book on the Webley revolver, points out that there are revolvers out there with slots in the frame. Now, I need to catch up with him and find out whether those that he's seen have the finished slot or not, because that might change my view slightly. Now, his view is that perhaps this was a genuine configuration, but there isn't really any evidence, and I certainly can't argue with that. I would err more on the sort of burden of proof thing and say, unless we have evidence to suggest this was done prior to 1919, say, we have to rule it out as a genuine thing that was actually used in the trenches. So there is more to this. If we put these various bits to one side. So we have two. The one I put the bayonet on today was collected by the Royal Armouries before my time and is documented. This is the one that appears in Dowell's The Webley Story, which is well worth getting hold of, or its revised, expanded follow-up version. And if I remember rightly, Dowell is kind of circumspect about whether this was a genuine thing or not. And we don't have any prior provenance for it. It didn't come from a family of an officer or anything like that. It just kind of appeared, was collected, and then collected by us. And then the other one, the one that I've taken apart here, which is, yeah, in bits now, but we know this was made up. This was put together by the pattern room to show as an example, or perhaps a little bit of institutional jealousy that the armories had one and they didn't. I don't know what the view was at the time, whether they thought this was a period configuration or not. I assume they did think that. And again, can't rule it out. This could be something that was actually carried. But the last thing I'll say is, why? Why would you do this? Okay, you've got, yes, we know the benefits of a shoulder stock, much greater stability in aiming and shooting, of course. With the bayonet, you've got perhaps quite an effective trench raiding weapon. That's about the only reason I could see you putting this together. We know that troops did set aside their Enfield rifles going on trench raids. A lot of them just took bayonets or fighting knives and grenades and had no firearm because the rifle was so unwieldy in the close quarter fighting of the stereotypical trench experience. So if we're looking for a gap for this to hide in, it's going to be that. Setting this thing up for trench fighting. The downside to that argument is this is a very expensive, rare thing. Only officers are going to have this, and few of them are going to have it. So if that's the answer to this, it would only be the stock on the pistol, done as a local modification for trench raiding. But I am wildly speculating in devil's advocate mode, because there's just no evidence for that. If we say this is an officer's thing, well, again, why? If you want a shoulder weapon, carry a rifle. That has the benefit of you not looking like an officer for snipers and things like that. This is heavy, not as heavy as an Enfield, but still heavy and clunky. You cannot holster it. You can sling it off the sling point here and the lanyard ring, so you could sling it. Someone's personal preference might allow them to carry this around. Again, kind of ignoring the bayonet, I think I can safely say that this whole configuration would never have been used. But what are your thoughts? What do you think? If anyone has any evidence, we'd love to see it. If you even just have some speculative thoughts like I've been giving, feel free to, because this is one of those weird kind of unicorn weapons in this setup. Well, there are more of them out there than there ought to be because of fakes. The stocks have been reproduced, I guess because signal pistols aren't super common, and the bayonet as well has also been faked. And it's, as we've seen, very easy to just cut a slot in the frame of an ordinary Webley revolver, of which there are, well, hundreds of thousands, probably millions actually. So, let us know what you think. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it. You can actually, if you'd like to, donate to us. If you check out the website, there's a way to do that. We just mainly want you to subscribe and like and do all of that YouTube stuff. You can also check out our, as well as the website, our social media channels. They're all linked from the website anyway. And very importantly, we'd like you to visit us. We are a museum at the end of the day, or well, several museums. Tower of London, Fort Nelson, and here in Leeds. So if you're in the UK, and even if you're not, if you're on vacation or something, please do come and see us. We'd love to see you. Thanks a lot.